What's Nvidia's stock price? 156.19. I'll add it to my watch list. 156. And that's all I need from that. Everything else can kind of come from SEC filings. All right. Let's actually look at how I have this formatted. Let's sort of copy the format. Incompleteness. I guess that's the joke, right? Is that everything's always incomplete, isn't it? I would start with Python or JavaScript, depending on what you like. If you like data analysis, then you know, you might want Python. If you like the web, you might want to try JavaScript. But both are pretty easy to pick up, I would say. I'm a DCF style investor, I would say that's right. Do I use a VPN? Why are you asking me? What's your problem? Huh? I don't use much R. I'm really interested in using it more. I guess it's sort of dying a little bit. People are using just sort of Jupyter notebooks with Python and different Python plugins instead of R. But I'd like to use R a little bit more. I have to use Jupyter notebooks a little bit more, to be honest, and IPython and all that. Have I ever gambled online? Of course. Who hasn't gambled online? Yeah, I gotta move to TypeScript, man. This type checking is killing me. I do a is NaN check every freaking second line of code I have as it is not a number. Would I ever take an intern? Of course I take interns all the time. Employee, I would say. I employ interns, yes. Have I gambled recently? Why are you asking me these questions? What's your problem? What the fuck? Come at me, bro. Come at me, bro. Come at me, bro. Thank you. I'd think about what school the person's going to. Yeah, sure. It's not the most important thing. I think the most important thing is the conversation. I can figure out if they're intelligent or not, capable or not. That's what matters the most. School doesn't hurt, but I think I can size somebody up better than probably any, just looking at the school. But, without anything else, it's certainly a decent start. So semiconductor companies are pretty complicated because of their cyclicality, deep cyclicality. And in good times, you forget that they're cyclical. In bad times, you forget that they're cyclical. In good times, you become very Pollyanna-ish and sanguine, and you feel like, oh, nothing can go wrong. There's no way I could, this is a super cycle. You hear that a lot. We'll never have a downtick, and then when the bear market comes and the economic activity declines, you say the opposite. You say, these things will never come back. They're just commodities now. You hear both laments. Although the first one isn't a lament, I guess. You hear the refrains. Let's see, I have some texts, most likely from some beautiful women. Let's see. Yes, of course. Missed call. Who makes phone calls anymore? All right. Will there be enough judges to prosecute all the crimes? That's a good question. They somehow find enough. Yeah, I feel bad for some of the recent apparently criminal activity that's going on. Not FTX, but other people who I have some fondness for, I like, and I hope they don't get caught up in all this. Of course, crime should be punished, but I think it's sometimes punished a little harshly. So we'll see how that all pans out, I guess. Yeah, what about all the murders going on? Wow, look at that R&D expenditure at Nvidia. It's kind of amazing. What a profitable company. If you take out the R&D, it's just insanely profitable. Maybe there's a one-timer in here, that's my guess. What are my favorite NFTs? I guess Milady's. NFTs are kind of stupid. 3D models aren't reused in the pharma industry, but 3D, well, it's not 3D, but molecular dynamics and simulations are used in pharma, of course. I don't care about macro these days, CPI and all that. Have I ever traveled outside the U.S.? Yes, I've traveled outside the U.S. Holy moly. I don't know if you know my background in history, but yeah, I've traveled outside the U.S. So what a silly question. They sort of break down, Ryo, they do break down a little bit the end markets that they serve, and I've never left New York City. I have heard about these far-off lands, such as New Jersey and Connecticut. One day I will brave the elements and seek out these far-off places. The distant land of New Jersey. The Godel beta site is not public. If you want log in, you have to email me. I'm setting up a Google Forms, so you can just go to a form site and I can approve from there. That'll probably be up in a few days. But right now, if you want Godel, you have to hit me up. Don't try to sneak on there either. I know some of you are going to try to sneak. I'm watching you. You're violating my terms of service. Pluto, that's great. He down bad. Gain is high. I can turn the gain down a little. Gain. Is that better? The only thing down bad is your attitude. I watch CDMOs. I don't. All right, let's see. How are you so handsome? Were you born this way? Well, I'm not very handsome. First of all, thank you though. Second of all, see, I looked at some pictures of my parents when they were younger, and I kind of take after a mix of my mom and my dad, but I don't exactly look like either of them. It's weird. It's like a little hybrid. I look a little bit like both, you know what I mean? But I'd say I favor my mom a little bit more than I favor my father. But I don't think anybody has ever said our family has got a lot of beautiful people in it, you know. We kind of look average. We're Albanian. The most famous Albanian now is not me, it's Dua Lipa. Kind of jealous. She's got so many songs. I kind of think, you know what, I shouldn't say what I think. Let me just keep my mouth shut for once. So Nvidia had a down year-over-year quarter. I knew that. They're sort of struggling at the moment, and the stock's gotten killed. Let me see if I can do the balance sheet. This is also really interesting because I'm pretty sure they're fabless, right? So they're a semiconductor company that doesn't make any of their own products. I think they're a Taiwan Semi customer. So that sort of eats into their gross margin, which isn't bad, by the way. The gross margin's pretty high. And again, if you look at the sales general administrative line, it's really an amazing business. I mean, they're, how many businesses do you know that have roughly 50% margins, right? Ken Griffin, man, I don't know. Hedgies didn't do too terribly last year. Some hedgies made money. Citadel, Millennium, all the kind of pod shops made money. Yeah, LVMH is a good example of something that seems to be similar. It's kind of funny that semiconductors and handbags are have any similarity. Oh, that's so funny, I'm dying. I'm eating a fruit bowl. I just finished the kiwis. Now I'm onto the grapes. If we're in a recession, it's certainly not a big one. Unemployment is still really low. Growth is tepid, but growth's been tepid for our country for a really long time. I mean, if you want high growth, you have to go to India or something like that. So yeah, you notice that Nvidia has almost no property, plant, and equipment for such a big company, a $300 billion company. They only have $4 billion in capital equipment, which is really telling. You know, again, they're fabless, so that's what you would expect. But it's amazing that a company like this could make, let's look at the net income briefly. They can make between 7 to 3 billion in 3 quarters, so you could say that's like 10 to 4 billion, let's say 4 to 10 billion. In 1 year on just equipment just worth $4 billion, right? That's kind of the way you want to look at the balance sheet and the capital intensity, right? Semiconductors, everyone would think of them as this really capital intensive business, right? Like what could be more capital intensive than making a semiconductor? But here you have Nvidia with almost no capital doing just fine. CUDA. Yeah, I want to do Rohan, I don't know if you ever used WebAssembly, but I'm starting to work on stuff in that world. All right, AP, AL, here's debt. Okay, so net cash for Nvidia is close to 0. So they're maintaining kind of even cash. Just about 3 billion in net cash, almost none basically. Famous CEO Jensen Huang, multi-billionaire, super success story. If you haven't seen Jensen, he's kind of a really interesting character. Let's actually let's meet Jensen Huang. See if there's like a brief YouTube that we can watch. This isn't my field. Hardware is not something I typically look at or care about, but it's sometimes good to broaden your horizons, you know? All right, let's see. Here's Jensen Huang. Doesn't he look futuristic? He almost looks like he's from the future, right? Taiwanese American billionaire, business magnate, and electrical engineer. He's very much an electrical engineer. He's a PhD, if I recall correctly. Let's see. I don't know. You can watch this, I guess. You have to watch an ad. I don't want to watch an ad. Business magnate. He is a very strong magnet. 10 Tesla magnet. Tesla's something else. I like Tesla stock right now. I think it's really cheap. Does he always wear this outfit?
Set of algorithms that something happened about a decade and a half ago that completely transformed computer science. It was possible to use a piece of software called deep learning, a set of algorithms that studies a bunch of data and learns patterns from it. And it triggered what we now call the Big Bang of modern AI. Nvidia invented a new type of computing, and it's based on a processor called a GPU. And one of the most amazing things it does is play video games, because we're trying to simulate the virtual worlds. At its core, a video game is a simulation. You could simulate things like weather and particle physics and buildings collapsing and waves, and you could just imagine whether it's used for physics simulation, for scientific discoveries, or play video games. We built a platform called Omniverse, and Omniverse combines photorealistic rendering of graphics, real-time physics simulations, artificial intelligence and robotics, and connected with VR and AR, we can go in and out of this Omniverse. The way that future factories will be designed and the way that companies will be built is in these digital worlds. And as a result, the cost of manufacturing will come down, the rate and the product innovation rate will go up, and their ability to manufacture new, impossible products today will be possible in the future. If you're creating physical things, you don't have the benefit of cloud to share your work. We would like to create a place where designers could collaborate and interact on the same body of work at the same time. Imagine a cloud document, but now it's actually a cloud city, or it's a cloud factory, or it's a car in the cloud, and everybody can work on it at the same time. Whether
Cloud City, take me there. I'll take you there. Anybody else like Madonna? I might meet Madonna. I don't know, when the head of Thought Patrol meets the head thought, what's gonna happen? This is like when worlds collide. Does anybody remember that Power Man 5000 song? This is what it's like when worlds collide. SpongeBob. I don't know anything about SpongeBob, to be honest. I don't know these SpongeBob memes that all go over my head. Different generation. I wish I was a workhorse. I wish I could work a lot harder. Lately, I feel like I have imposter syndrome. I don't know why people always say that, imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is just like feeling of guilt, basically. It's like, get off your ass. Sometimes I don't want to get off my ass though. ChatGPT, I was using ChatGPT in prison. This thing is not new. Everybody's talking about it now, but transformer technology has been around for several years. Anybody who's getting mesmerized by this now is very late to the party. Although the new GPT-4 will be really fun and interesting. And it certainly, you know, is the revenge of Steve Ballmer, you know, who wanted to beat Google. Yeah, GPT-3, GPT-2 especially, were available to me while I was on vacation. Developers, 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 developers. Developers, 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 developers. Am I from Albania or Kosovo? Montenegro, I guess. Both. Well, more Albania. I love this company! I think you're going to see a couple of other transformer companies come out, and you're going to have a rival to GPT-3. They probably have significant first mover advantage in name recognition, so there may be all for naught, but we'll see. Anyway, let's look at Nvidia. A lot of this machine learning is powered by Nvidia chips, so there you go. This is all bullish for Nvidia, technically. They sell a lot of these chips to data centers. I think you've got to spend a lot of time studying a stock before you start investing. That means like at least 100 hours, bare minimum. Poring over all the financial information and data you can find. All right, so here is an interesting situation with Nvidia. You've got, I want you to look at the revenue line. That's the most important line, right? In tech, you know, it's pretty much revenue is everything. It sort of tells you the direction the business is heading, right? And without revenue, all the other lines are sort of meaningless. They're, you know, margins are important, but you know, for a semiconductor company, it's whatever demand is looking like, right? That's kind of what matters the most. So this is a very schizophrenic demand when you look quarter to quarter, and that's not uncommon with a company like this. And it's probably better to look at it a different way, and so we can do that in 1 minute. I'll show you kind of a different way to look at revenue, and not many people do this, but I kind of like to do a moving average. So isn't it odd they had 46% revenue growth, then flat, and then down? You know, and sometimes it's because there's a glut and things like that. You could rapidly go from undersupply to oversupply in semiconductors and other cyclical industries, by the way. It's in fact quite common in other cyclical industries. The other cyclical industries that most people think about when they think cyclical are things like paper or steel or stuff like that, where they're commodity products. Even with a moving average, the revenue is obviously revenue growth is still pretty volatile. I don't own the Shkreli pill account. I don't know who makes that. Good for them, I guess. A little bit annoying to me that they profit off of me, but that's all right. I'll probably make my own. Well, this is my account, right? But I'll probably make some more enhanced videos soon. I have a video editor I might start working with. I don't know. Anyway, let's look. We've got more Nvidia to talk about. That's all. All right, so here's another mega growth quarter. So they really just fell off a cliff last quarter, right? And it was really, really surprising. And the question is, what happened, right? And we can read the quarterly commentary to see, we can listen to the conference call to find out. All of those are good ideas. They were a $5 billion revenue company just 6 or 7 quarters ago, 8 quarters ago. Got up to $8 billion, growing every quarter, mind you. Every single quarter they grew. And again, it makes you wonder, like, okay, is this a cyclical semiconductor company, or is this just a growth company that's never going to stop growing? And clearly we learned in the last 2 quarters that it's certainly not the latter. Could it go back to growth? Sure. Absolutely. So there's also the crypto channel they have, and that's sort of, I think, gone to zero, largely, where they sold chips for crypto mining, which is largely now kind of out of fashion, or just isn't profitable or whatever. All right, so let's look at the last quarterly result, and let's see kind of what they said. All right. Nvidia announces financial results for third quarter fiscal 23. Data center revenue, $3.83 billion. Interesting. Okay, so that's the first revenue sort of segment breakdown. And you can see that even though it was down 17% year over year, data center was up to 3830, and that's sort of their AWS, Google Cloud, Azure, so non-data center, right? It's kind of, I mean, we'll get this data a different way in a second, but let's say non-data center is 2.1 billion and data center is 383, and data center was up 31%, so you can impute here that it was 2 billion back here. Interestingly, that means that the non-data center business basically fell 50%. Isn't that wild? So that's sort of the what do you call it? The game business, I suppose, right? You can actually download this this program I wrote. It's called Stocks. It's on my GitHub, and it just basically will create a real-time quote monitor for your terminal. It's not anything too special, but it's kind of a funky little app we wrote. Yeah, no more Ethereum mining, and people that use GPUs for different things, like you could still use them to mine other tokens. I don't have any projects. I have companies. I don't do projects. Project is a word for people who have commitment issues. Bernard Borg has been asking about chatbots. Chatbots could be very, very simple and stupid. There was an old one called Smarter Child. It was a long, long time ago on AOL Instant Messenger. And then there's complex ones like ChatGPT. It'd be very, very, very difficult to make something like ChatGPT. All right, anyway, let's go back to this. We are quickly adapting to the macro environment, correcting inventory levels and paving the way for new products, said Jensen Huang. The ramp of our new platforms, Ada Lovelace RTX graphics, Hopper AI computing, so Lovelace and Hopper were 2 figures in computing, women both, but very kind of funny to name the chips after them. That's cool. Hopper is a bit of a bigger deal than Ada Lovelace. Bluefield and quantum networking. I wonder what they're doing in quantum, actually. I wanted to talk about quantum with you guys briefly. There was a new paper that came out that said a 10-qubit Chinese quantum computer factored integer, 48-bit integer, roughly 200-some trillion. So anyway, the quantum computer, 10-qubit quantum computer factored this number, and the theory that the Chinese put forward is that they could, a 300 or 400 qubit computer could break 2048-bit RSA encryption, which is really interesting. A lot of people dismissed the paper, which I wouldn't dismiss. Thief? I must have stole your heart. Fundamental analysis is probably what you would call what I'm doing right now. $40.96, at least for top secret. Well, they can't break 2048 either, so I think quantum computing is going to solve some problems, yeah. All right, so the ramp of our new platforms is off to a great start and forms the foundation for our next phase of growth. Nvidia's pioneering work in accelerated computing is more vital than ever. Limited by physics, general-purpose computing has slowed to a crawl, just as AI demands more computing. Accelerated computing lets computers achieve orders of magnitude increase productivity while saving money and the environment. Okay. Okie dokie. Karaoke. All right, here's the outlook: $6 billion in revenue. 6 billion in revenue, so down quite a bit, down year over year, quite a lot. I don't think they have 1,000 bits with error correction and all that, but so you might want to double check that, Jerry, because I was on Amazon Bracket last night, and the latest Rigetti is 80 qubits. And I was on the IBM one too, and that one is like 120 qubits or something like that, so maybe double check that. Thousand qubits sounds like a bit much. I know IBM is saying they'll have 1,000 qubit computer ready by the end of the year, but I suspect most people don't think that's a legit claim. IBM lies quite a bit. Generalist. Oh, when you say generalist, I think generalist investor. Right, there's data center. Began shipping the Nvidia H100 Tensor Core GPU based on the Hopper architecture. It's just a Tensor Core. SC22, Quantum 2 Systems. Okay, I haven't checked out their quantum system. Nvidia Quantum 2. InfiniBand. Oh, this is the networking stuff. The bus. Bussin'. Has nothing to do with quantum computing. Very misleading name. I am a value investor, correct. Favorite chess opening for black? It's got to be French defense. Yeah, I know the new IBMs. We'll definitely hear. Takashi Snitch 9? No, I have never heard of him. Interesting name though. Lekian. Albanians just aren't Jewish, I'm sorry. I took the COVID-19 vaccine, correct. I have to do an mRNA vaccine video, so I'll teach everyone a little bit about medicine. All right. Rescale. Probably need some of these. I haven't seen the Madoff thing, no. So many questions. Let's focus on Nvidia. Try to focus. Oh, they have large language model services. This is... I gotta check that out. That's if you want to make your own GPT, maybe. Let's see, Nvidia Nemo. Toolkit for building conversational AI models. Let's check it out.
Conversational AIs are opening new opportunities in every industry by automating tasks with apps like chatbots and virtual assistants. But it takes a lot of effort to build the models that run beneath these applications, and there are many models that go into a typical conversational AI pipeline. Enterprises and academic institutes are in a race to produce the best models. So, researchers are on tight deadlines to achieve state-of-the-art accuracy on tasks like recognizing speech amidst noisy data, understanding nuances in human conversations, and generating human-like speech to deploy in a production environment. Current frameworks provide low-level APIs to build the models, which requires researchers to write a lot of boilerplate code, non-semantic connections, and hooks to make a model. Also, many existing frameworks support building speech recognition, language understanding, or speech synthesis models, but few seamlessly support all three. Nemo is a focused toolkit that lets you build a full range of language and speech models. Nemo simplifies the development of complex neural network architectures for conversational AI. It breaks down the monolithic flow into reusable neural modules that take typed input and produce typed output. Models, encoders, decoders, language models, loss functions, optimizers, and much more are just a simple import or an edit in a config file away. Neural modules can be reimagined as Lego blocks that can be used to construct a neural network. Nemo is built to work on top of PyTorch and PyTorch Lightning. So for example, you can import a QuartzNet model for automatic speech recognition, a BERT model for natural language processing, a Tacotron model for text-to-speech, and the loss functions and optimizers you want from Nemo or PyTorch. Then, you can use the customized PyTorch Lightning data loader and schedulers you wrote and train as you see fit. Nemo also works quite well with Facebook's Hydra and can meet your customization needs for each model with simple changes in a config file. There are multiple ways to get your hands on Nemo, through Nvidia NGC or pip install, or simply build it from GitHub. Let's have a look at the Nemo resources available on Nemo. More for each layer. Added the complications of building a conversational AI model.
Yeah, I gotta use Hugging Face as well. Alright, so BioNemo, whatever that is, I should probably check that out too, protein structure. OVX. Bluefield DPU. What the heck is a DPU? Data processing unit, of course. Isn't that what a computer is? Okay, here's gaming. So that was down 50%, as we assumed. Oops. Did I do that? Yeah. Okay. Our GeForce RTX 4090. I wonder if I have that. I think I have the one just before that. I wonder what GeForce Now is. I'm assuming this is some kind of game rental studio or something. Let's see, GeForce Now. Oh, this is like game streaming, I think. Yeah. What games they have? That's the question. 1,500 games available. Looks like they got rust. All right, professional visualization down 65%. Oof. So much for Omniverse. Alt-Tab is a shortcut for switching between two applications. Automotive and embedded. 251, up quite a lot. Interesting. All right, well, last thing I'll do with Nvidia before I move on to something else is I'm going to do annual numbers. All right, here's some annual numbers. Isn't that amazing? 6 or 7 billion. Oh, no, wait. 10 billion, 11 billion, 17, then 27. I think this is fiscal year 23. So I'll change these. All right. So let's see, fiscal year 22, fiscal year 21, sum of this. Not really going to be meaningful there, so let me just remove that, but sum here. So it looks like they'll have a flattish year, but they had this crazy growth. I mean, this is really remarkable numbers. It's almost just riveting performance. All right, so let's see, 26,914, 16,675, and 10,918. So let's look at the year-over-year numbers. So 53% growth, then 61% growth, and then finally flat. You know, you can't grow at 50% forever, can you? Well, Tesla's about to figure that out, aren't they? If you can or can't. We don't know what'll happen with Tesla. I hope they keep growing. But it's the kind of law of large numbers, right? You can't grow forever. But, you know, they said that about Google. They said that about a lot of companies. And sometimes you can grow for a lot longer than people say you can. So don't just take the law of large numbers as some monolith that's always right. It's definitely not always right. People said that about Google, and it just kept growing at 20, 30% every year. And it took COVID to stop Google from growing. All right, so there's some more numbers. Let's do this one real quick. Nvidia doesn't seem to pay taxes. God bless them. Everybody else has to pay taxes, but not Nvidia. Bernie Sanders should be furious. Bernie Sanders here. Listen, guys. Have you heard of Nvidia? Graphics cards. Yeah, the kids use them. They use them to make memes or something. Anyway, look. This is a big company. They make a lot of money, and they don't pay any taxes. What gives? I expect them to pay taxes. I'm 100 million years old, by the way. I'm from Brooklyn, New York. Anyway, let's see. All right, let's look at fiscal year 19. It's just amazing to see some of the journeys these companies have taken. I mean, could you imagine being in charge of Nvidia and going from having 10 billion in revenue to 27 billion in revenue in just a couple of years, and the company's worth 400 billion? It's 20 times sales almost. Well, to be fair, it's a lot less than that. Let's do the number. 14 times sales, which is quite a lot, but really high contribution margin as well, right? They tried to buy ARM. That didn't go over well with regulators, I guess. I guess not just regulators, but governments. What an interesting company. Again, I don't do hardware because I'm very clumsy. I can barely repair my own computers. Okay, so they did have a down year here. 2020 was a down year. So it's not like Nvidia's only grown forever and ever. I'm sure they grew after or before that as well, though. Let's see, minus 58, plus 14. They got a tax refund. What the? Listen, in Bernie Sanders America, nobody's getting a fucking tax refund. You got me? Bernie fucking Sanders. You want a tax refund? Are you fucking kidding me? Once you give the government money, we're never giving it back. What, are you crazy? Giving you a refund? What? How am I going to pay for my vacation homes? Are you crazy? Get out of your mind. Refund. 70, 75, 80% tax rates. That's what we should do for corporations. That's the right idea. Bernie Sanders for president. Thank you. Am I going to run this year? Maybe I might run. I don't know. I'll win. I'll beat Trump. I'll beat Biden. All right, so they kind of had like this slowish growth here too. So it wasn't just the last couple of years, really. COVID, I hate to say, maybe it was COVID that made Nvidia grow so much. Did people overbuy these GPUs and now they're just sitting on a ton of them and that's that? I mean, it looks like the cloud part is still kicking butt. You know, Amazon needs to provide all those GPU instances to me. But, not to me, but to big clients, I'm sure. I wish I was a big AWS client. I'm just a pipsqueak. I've got 20 or 30 computers on AWS, EC2 instances. I'm sure that there are people with 20,000 EC2 instances. Right, here's some more financial data. All right. I don't think anybody should have financial data. I think the government should control any financial data you may have. Bitcoin, are you fucking crazy? Never ever we're gonna have Bitcoin. Bernie Sanders is gonna see to it. It's the last thing I do. All right, so here's some more growth. 4 billion in 2015, 5 billion, 7 billion, 10 billion. They sort of struggled here for this period, right, where they're sort of stuck in this rut and then expanded, and now the question is, are they in this rut and they're going to go up to 30 or 40 billion? Let's assume that that's what happens. Let's assume that margins are around 65%. Let's see. Kind of amazing because, I mean, their R&D budget is kind of whatever. They're just throwing shit at the wall, right? And the SG&A budget, it almost doesn't matter how much this thing grows. They obviously get scale, but they can get up to $20 billion in net income if they grow a little bit more. The problem is they have to start paying taxes. I mean, Bernie Sanders jokes aside, it's going to be a difficult thing for them never to pay taxes. But even if that happens and they double the size of the business, you're still talking about 20 times earnings, and it's probably likely that they'll double the business again, which again seems a little crazy given, but they're sort of really well placed and sort of all the technologies that they're focused on. Gaming isn't a growth segment. It never should have been considered a growth segment, and that's why they sort of have to rebalance for that. But they'll return, now that gaming is kind of bottomed, they'll kind of return to growth in their main business, which is now data center. Interesting, really interesting. Well, I'll upload that to my GitHub if you guys want to play with it yourselves. Kind of an interesting company, to say the least.